Welcome to another episode of UCRD Reviews. So today I have another version anime Robot Spirits release for you. This one's a new release, it just came out. This is the RX-78GP01 Gundam GP01 version anime. So the GP01 is the main mobile suit from Gundam 0083 Stardust Memory, and this is the first version anime figure out of the 0083 line. So everybody was really excited about it when they announced it, and now we finally have it at the end of July 2019. So I'm really excited to get it. You can see they went back to a windowed box design there. You have lots of the features and accessories, things that it can do. You see GP02 there. The back of the box is a scene from one of the first episodes when he's fighting the GM Custom. Actually, that may be when he's hunting the GP02. You have some nice effect parts. You have a nice side art there. So there's overall just a lot of really nice stuff to it. The Gundam GP01 came out almost 20 years ago in the Gundam Fix line, as well as the MSA line in the American market. It didn't come out in the Asian line in the MSA, or the Asian, it didn't have an Asian release in the MSA line until 2002, which was still 17 years ago, quite a long time. And we know it as the second version Gundam GP01 figure, but for the Asian market it was the first release, and we really haven't had anything since. This is really the first figure in like I said, almost 20 years, which is just remarkable. And I had those two MSIA figures a long time ago, so this should be a huge step up. So I'm really excited to see what we get here. So let's go ahead and check it out. So here's the Gundam GP01, and it kind of had a odd pose out of the box there with the head facing straight up, but it really looks like they pulled it right out of the anime, and I've said that about a few figures before, and this one's no exception. It looks really nice. You do have the antenna that's just sticking straight up out of the head, extremely fragile, and you have, of course, you want to be careful with the V-fan antenna. You do get replacements for both. You have the Vulcan guns sculpted into the sides of the head there. Head movement is nice. You have lots of up and down really well there. You do have a chest flex, and you have some downward movement and a little bit of upward there, not much, a little stiff. The arms are simplistic in the shoulders. They went back to just a regular snap-on shoulder piece. You do have a thruster effect hardpoint there. I mean, the arms, standard ball joint. It does come out of the shoulder. You do have a little bit of a rotation there. No, not too much. Almost ripped it out of its socket. Pretty standard articulation so far is what I'm seeing. The wrists, I thought this piece here moved with the wrist, but it doesn't seem to. It looks like it just has standard single ball joint movement. Yeah, it doesn't, just an armor piece, it doesn't actually move there. All the skirt armor is hinged or ball jointed, including the front pieces here. If I can get it, there we go. So you have, those pieces don't really limit your range at all. The backpack has movable thrusters with hard points. You have hard points for storing weapons, as well as the beam saber racks, which are movable and rotatable. They are in a half, like a half piece, so it'll move this way, but if you try and force it down this way, you're going to break it, so you do want to pay attention to which direction it's oriented in. There's lots of detail, lots of green for the cameras, the yellows, you see the shoulders up here look nice. The head design looks good. So going down to the legs, we're going to go ahead and flip the skirt armor up again, just so you can see the leg design here. you'll see that there's actually a hinge joint. See if I can pull it down. You can see it kind of in the back there. That's what's moving the thigh up and down. And then the leg itself has a bit of turn to it, and that looks like about it. The knee joint's very articulated. Hey, look at that. There goes the skirt armor. So you can do some pretty crazy poses there, so long as the skirt armor doesn't get in the way. And the feet are kind of odd, so I'm going to pull the foot down. You see this is ball jointed on this side over here, and then the foot itself is kind of on a side joint also. You do have toe articulation, the middle of the foot moves, you have hard points down here. Pretty standard stuff. This piece is just kind of odd to me. So I'm going to go ahead and put the legs back up here. So let's check out some of the accessories here real quick. There's the backpack. You can see it's on a hinge, kind of. And we're going to go ahead and plug that guy back in there. So let's check out what it comes with real quick. The GP01 comes with quite a few accessories, and you'll notice I took a lot of them out of the plastic wrap here, so you do get the hand holder. You have two different sets of posing hands. You have, these are beam saber hands here, and you'll have the beam rifle hands or gun hands, and you'll see that they have the separated trigger finger there. That's the difference between the saber hands and the rifle hands. So you do get this, which is standard assortment for a version anime figure. You do get the 90mm bullpup machine gun. This is the same one that we've seen in the 0080 line. So pretty simple stuff. You have the green for the camera there, a hard point for firing effects. So it's a really, really good, solid piece. And you have the GP01's shield. So this one is actually really nice. It does a sliding mechanism there, you can see. It has a fixed handle, which I don't really like. So what ends up happening is you'll take, I think this piece here is the arm connector. So that's this one here with the ball joint. And if you connect it, you'll run into an issue where it'll be connected to the arm and the handle's kind of in the way of the hand. And there's no real way to move it. I mean, it's not movable at all. I don't know what these two pieces down here are for necessarily, but these big pegs here are for these E-packs, and they will actually, these are the energy packs for the beam rifle. So there are E-caps and E-packs. Like the original Gundam's beam rifle used an E-cap, which you have to take to the ship to recharge. But then they started making E-packs, and these are basically removable magazines for the beam rifle, which is kind of nice, and it went from 0083 all the way into Zeta Gundam and so on. So the other thing you can do with the shield is actually put a storage part on it, or a connector for a storage part rather, and that's this little tiny piece here. It's got a square peg on it, and it just fits right into the shield. Now excuse the GP01 not having hands for the moment, but it plugs into the back right here, just like that. So pretty easy there. So let's take a look at the beam rifle here. So the beam rifle is a really nice design, really detailed. You see the E-pack is removable. It does have a swiveling camera as well as a swiveling front handle. And it has a hard point here for a beam effect as well as a hard point here. So I'll go over what this is in a moment, but this is a really nice rifle design here. You have the backwards facing trigger for this piece here, which in Japanese it's a jite, I believe is what it's called. But it's basically this. And this is one of the first times, I think, at least in the MSIA line, we never got a beam part for this. And it plugs in down here, like so. And you're going to want to just turn it so that it lines up with the front piece, just like that. And so it basically blocks beam saber attacks and allows the GP01 to counterattack. So that's the beam rifle. While I have this out, this is the beam saber. So there's much more flaring going on than the older version anime figures. It's also, I don't know if you can tell, but it's flatter. It's not perfectly round, which gives it more of a sword effect. And you get two of these, which is kind of nice. So going back to the beam rifle, we're going to remove that front piece and get this thing off real quick. And we're going to go over some storage for it, if I can get this back on. There we go. So it comes with a storage piece, which looks kind of funny. It has a peg on this side and a peg on that side. Basically what we're going to do is attach it like that. And now you have storage options. So we're going to take the shield off, and you can kind of close up the, you can just fling it across the room. You can close up the camera and just kind of plug it in right like that on the back. There's also a storage piece down here, or a hard point rather. Now this can also be used for like bazooka storage, although the GP01 doesn't come with a bazooka. And then finally, you can store it into the shield with the other peg piece. We're going to remove or turn the camera the other way, and it'll plug in right like that, so pretty easily. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the effect parts we get real quick. So the GP01 comes with two thruster effects. These are very similar to what we got with like the Gundam Alex and many other units from the 0080 line. And it can be plugged into the shoulders, the backpack here, even the feet. So you do have many options with that. You have a beam rifle firing effect, which basically looks like a giant version of the beam saber. It's flared and everything. And you also have this little piece. So it's another flaring effect, and you're going to plug it into the back there. And where's my beam rifle? It's attached to the shield. So I'm going to take all this off real quick, and it'll go into the barrel, and you have a rifle firing effect, which looks really nice. This is much better than the normal firing effects we've been getting lately. So this looks really, really good. It's a pretty big piece. It's a little weighted in the hand, but otherwise it works well. We also get a beam saber slashing effect, which takes on the same flaring as the regular beam saber. So very similar to what we've got in the past, but again, the design's updated. And finally here, we have this piece. So this piece comes in two halves. We're going to go ahead and remove the plastic shell there. And you can see, if I line it up like this, you can see there's a peg on each side, and then a hole for the other peg. So we're going to go ahead and attach them together. You do want to be very careful with it. These little end pieces, this is all hard plastic, so everything here is breakable. But you can plug beam sabers in here, like so. And where's my other beam saber? It's hiding behind the figure. And then the other one can go on the other side, and you have kind of a clashing effect. Almost looks very Star Wars-ish. And it works really well. I mean, they're in there pretty good. There's basically just a slot for one, and then underneath there's a slot for the other one. This is to be used in conjunction with the GP02 figure technically, but I mean, you can use it for just about anything. But it works really, really well, and it looks really nice. So I also wanted to do a quick comparison video. I chose the full armor Gundam Alex to do the comparison with, but you know, these are two recently released Gundam figures, and they're both really highly detailed. You can see they're about the same height, and they both are very accurate to their respective animes. So I wanted to show you, GP01 has a much larger shield. Alex is obviously a bit bulkier given all the armor, but both really solid figures, very similar in the Robot Spirits line for their detail. So I wanted to go ahead and show that off before I do my final thoughts. So this marks the beginning of the Gundam 0083 version anime line. And at this time of this video, they've already announced the GP02, the Zammel, and Anavel Gato's Gelgoog, which is a great starting lineup. So I'm really happy that they began this project. And the first one we get is the Zephyranthes, the GP01, right here. And it's a solid figure. It has most of the accessories it needs. It does omit some of the oddball accessories, like the large cannon that the second version MSIA got, or the long beam rifle that the Gundam Fix figure got, or even the Hyper Bazooka, although it does have a Hyper Bazooka storage in the back. It's missing a couple of those things, but I can't fault it too much because those are things that weren't seen in the anime. But what it does have with the weaponry, the effect parts that are really, really great, and the storage options for everything is really nice. It has a good sculpt to it. There is some fragile pieces like the antenna here. Luckily you get replacements for everything. One thing I don't like about the figure is the foot or the ankle armor here. It pops off and just kind of swings around loose quite often. The beam saber storage, being able to move around, is nice, but you kind of have to play with it to get the right angle on it. And the shield doesn't have very many options to it in terms of, like I said, moving the handle. Like, I actually have the handle in the more neutral posing hand right there, because when you connect the shield here, the handle's kind of in the way of the hand, and because of the angle of the beam saber hand, it's hard to get it in there. So this is the best way I found to have the shield in the hand. So there were just some odd design choices. The shoulders were just kind of something we saw a long time ago in the MSIA line, and they've tended to go away with that more recently, have more complex shoulders, and they went kind of back to the basics with this figure. But it works. I'm not going to fault it too much because it still works in terms of articulation and everything. I didn't have any quality control issues with my figure, which is always a good thing. There are, of course, the seam line issues here and there, but otherwise, it's got a ton of detail, and like I said, it's going to be a really great start to the 0083 line if things go from here and just keep getting better. So thank you for watching the review, and I will be putting some up soon once I get the GP02 and all the other great releases that are coming out. So thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.